Hey everyone, Cris Chico, and today I have an exciting, very exciting interview with someone that I had first originally found out this entire concept of wholesaling, this is Ron Legrand. He's considered the godfather, really, of a lot of us here in the industry that teach and got started in real estate investing, and I'm really excited to have the opportunity to have him here on our YouTube channel, and we're going to be discussing really a strategy and a tactic that I believe that every single investor, it doesn't matter what kind of business you're doing when it comes to property investing, wholesaling, it doesn't matter. He's going to be talking about a strategy that you need to have in your tool belt. It is essential. And, Ron, Ron, I didn't tell you this, but a long time ago, you were at the Broward Real Estate Association. And that was when I first saw you. You did a presentation there. And I remember in that presentation, you went through the whole, concept of wholesaling and the pretty house business. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is real. This is amazing. So I'm happy that you're here because you were the inspiration for me getting into the business. And I'm sure you've heard that many, many times. And, and I'm happy to have us here. So, I typically like to get into the meat of these interviews. However, maybe we could just take a few minutes and just, you've been in the business now, how many years?
37.
37 years in the business. He has run more than what others know and have learned in the business.
That just means I'm old, Chris. That's all that means.
Yeah, no, I will say you're like a fine wine. You're aged now, ready for corking.
That is true.
Yes. So what I want to talk to you today, Ron, is about what you call the pretty house business. And my main strategy has always been, and what I teach students is how to go out and find ugly houses, ugly beat up houses, and how they can go in and make a tremendous amount of money, and they can do that. However, we generate a lot of leads, and many of those leads are not ugly houses. They're pretty, and So what I wanted to talk to you today about is walk us through the pretty house business specifically. Maybe a lot of times I think investors are very close to it. They either don't really understand how it works. Maybe they don't believe that they're going to be able to make any significant amount of money. That maybe think it's going to be like, I'm going to do a pretty house business for me to make money at some time in the future, but I need money now. And I think that's a flaw. So maybe we can just start off with that, and I'll ask you questions as we go along in the time we have together. But the goal for me on this interview is I want to be able to open the eyes of every investor that's watching this, and for them to consider, you know what, I am leaving money on the table each and every time I talk to a seller and I put the phone down and I say, oh no, he's asking too much money.
I would probably say that you're probably losing $10 for every $1 you're making in the ugly house business because you don't understand or do the pretty house business. And frankly, I did the same thing for about 20 years of my career. All I knew was ugly house businesses. So I wonder how much money I lost. The ugly house business is all about price. You got to get it cheap because it's ugly. You either write a check or you get a private loan or you wholesale. The pretty house business is opposite. By the way, there's at least 50 times more pretty houses than there are ugly houses. And at the market we're at today, the competition is so fierce for ugly houses that the pretty house is what I do 95% of. Honestly, today, if I do an ugly house, it has to come hit me upside the head because I make a lot more money. Plus, I get residual income. And the goal in the pretty house business is to get terms, which I'll explain in a minute. But I'm not interested in getting out of the house immediately because I get paid up front, I get paid monthly, and I get paid on the back end, and I get more paydays along the way, which I do not get in the ugly house business. I've wholesaled 1,000 houses, Chris, guarantee you. I've renovated an equal amount as many. Problem is I get one check, pay maximum taxes. I'm done. I got no residual income. I got no growth. I got no wealth. Okay, I got a check. In the pretty house business, I get a check just as big from a non-refundable option deposit when I put a lease option to a buyer in a house. I'm talking 20, 30, 40, 50,000 bucks on nice houses, nice neighborhoods. Plus I get a monthly spread. Plus I'm going to get some free equity, but I don't have to steal a pretty house to buy it. I mean, sometimes we pay very close to retail price because we get good terms.
Right.
So when I put the tenant buyer in there, they're responsible for 100% of the work. for at least after the first 30 days. And they just stay in there until they either move or they go get a loan. Okay, I'm getting this cash flow, but I'm also getting depreciation. And if you don't know how to figure that, you better find it out, because if you're not looking at depreciation, it means you're paying too many taxes, most likely, and that's foolish. Because the more properties you own, the more depreciation you get, the lower your taxes. And if I get up into the nicer properties, I mean $300, $400, $500, $600 million houses, that's a lot of depreciation. All right. Plus, I'm getting appreciation. Because the truth is, I put the tenant buyers in the house, Chris. I hand them the keys. I'll help them any way they want, but I don't push them to go get a loan, and most of them will not. Literally, about 10% of the people that I lease option to ever go around getting buy the house, which is good for me, because when they move, they forfeit the deposit. That's clear up front. We close with an attorney, and we make them sign that in blood. They are not getting that deposit back. Now, it gets credited toward their down payment. So if they buy, it'll show in the closing statement as a credit toward their down payment and their purchase price. If they don't buy and they move, they will lose the deposit. And by the way, I often get asked, oh, don't I have to put that deposit in an escrow account? No, there's no escrow account. You're not a realtor. When you get that check, it's your money. Do whatever you want. And I would submit that I don't do a deal for less than a $20,000 deposit. Remember, I'm not dealing in the crap and the war zones and all the junk that I spent half my life dealing in. These are beautiful houses. So 20 is the minimum I'm going to take. But think about this. Let's say I'm doing $1 million house. Okay, I'm not taking less than a $100,000 deposit. If you take a look at it, the buyer of that house would have to go 200. They have to have 200 down if they got great credit.
Right.
Okay, I'm putting them in the house because they cannot qualify at the bank today. Our market is the 70% of the people looking to buy a house that can't go get a loan yet. Whatever their problem is, they can fix it with time. So I'll lease the house to them with an option to buy and give them plenty of time. In fact, the more time, the better, because I really don't want to cash out of the house and kill that golden goose. So my paydays are big check up front, which is usually more than you're going to net rehabbing a house without all that grief. I'm in and out of a pretty house in less than 30 days. Okay, I hand them the keys. Now I get money every month. That's kind of important to me, because I love residual income. And don't take too many of these deals to where you're out of a job. You want to be. And then whatever equity I got on the back end, if they ever cash me out, I'll get. But don't forget that every month the debt goes down. Okay, that's more equity I'm getting when I do get cashed out.
Okay.
So I get all these benefits that I don't get by wholesaling or rehabbing. Now, I have nothing against wholesaling and rehabbing. Don't get me wrong. I've done a lot of them. But sooner or later, we've got to start thinking about, okay, got a check today, great. But now what? And when I'm doing pretty houses, there will come a time where I don't have to work anymore. And I don't even have to buy more houses I don't want to because of that big spread. That time is never going to come when you're wholesaling and rehabbing, because you're not building anything. So by the way, we can do these things tax-free. We can do them in a Roth IRA. We can do them in a solo 401k. And I'm not going to get into it now, but you can exchange these houses, not pay taxes on them, and on and on and on. So the pretty house business is this. There's only 3 kinds of terms. First, I can lease it with an option to buy, which I do not do really, because I want to own it. See, I can't depreciate it if I lease it. I can if I own it. I'm taking title to it.
Right.
Buy them all in a land trust, own the property, and then one of 2 things will happen. I'm either taking over the seller's debt, which is subject to, we call it. And I think your listeners understand what that means, but that just means I'm taking over their debt, not assuming it. No personal liability. On Planet Ron, if I catch you going down to the bank and applying for a loan, I'm going to send Guido out to you and personally harm you. We do not guarantee debt on Planet Ron. It is the #1 biggest mistake you can make in real estate. And you and I both know countless people who made that mistake.
Right.
And won't make it again. So when I buy a house, I either take over the debt subject to, or I buy it with wraparound mortgage or a first mortgage or deed of trust to the seller. Either way, no personal guarantee. Land trust buys house, trustee signs as trustee on the note, no guarantee, trustee's not liable for anything. So the house is liable for the debt, which is the way it should be. Okay? So there's no loans on my credit report. They're not my loans.
They're not your loans.
Pound that into our listeners. This is non-recourse debt, not personally guaranteed debt. Okay, it does not show in your credit report. You are not responsible to put on your financial statement. So I suggest you go out and get all the non-recourse debt you can, because when you get that non-recourse debt, you're building cash flow along the way. And now, what happens if we have a big downturn, for example? People are so worried about the next recession. Well, my goodness, all you got to do is make sure there's one in your house. And how do we do that? Get rid of all personal guaranteed debt. And by the way, this is a great time to put houses on the market and cash out of them. If you have a personal guaranteed debt, put it on the market and sell it. Cash out, get rid of that debt, get the money while we're at the top of the market. And I believe we are. I think we are at the top of the market. And in my experience, as soon as I put them on the market, they're gone if they're in good shape. I sold a couple of houses last month, literally put them on the market Friday. By Saturday, both of them were sold. That's how hot the market is right now. So good time to cash out, but okay, I get the money, but I also get rid of that personal guaranteed debt. Now, when I get to do that, and I'm systematically building monthly and residual income by buying these properties without guaranteeing the debt, then I'm building wealth, but I'm building it without risk. You see, there is no risk. Well, the only checks we write are for closing costs, sometimes a little money to the seller, but not much. And sometimes we don't write any. So if I'm going to buy the house or closing costs, that's different state by state. But remember, this same house that I just bought, I'm going to go back and get $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 within 30 days back. So I might have to write a small check to get it, but I'll profit very quickly. And I don't have to fix the house.
I had a question for you. So I just, this is something I was just thinking about as you're saying this. So would you say that the doing a pretty house business in the way that you're describing is better than going out and say, some people say, hey, I want to own a bunch of rentals. I want to own a bunch of rentals. I want to finance them. I want to create this big, and people boast about it and say, oh, I own X number of properties. Would you say that the pretty house business is a better alternative than being a rental, owning a bunch of rental properties as a landlord?
You really going to ask me that?
Okay. But it's funny, as you're mentioning that, it just occurred to me. I'm like, oh wait, you're talking about
Let's analyze it.
Portfolio.
Let's analyze it.
Right.
Number one, I'm going to go guarantee every loan.
Right.
How many of those do you think I'm going to get before the banks are going to cut me off at the knees?
Right.
Trust me when I tell you, the more loans you guarantee, the worse you look to a bank. They don't care about that so-called equity. Ask the folks who went through 2008 like me about that equity stuff. Okay. So the more houses you buy, the worse you look, not the better you look.
Right.
The more personally guaranteed debt you get in, the harder you're ever going to be to get a loan when you ever need for something worthwhile. We don't need to borrow money from banks to buy houses. Come see me, buy all of them you want without going down to the bank. So here I got all this debt showing on my credit report, screwing up my financial statement. So now I'm going to take the house and I'm going to put a tenant in it. Okay. I can't imagine why anybody would want to rent a house to a tenant. I don't have tenants. I have tenant buyers. Right. They give me thousands of dollars up front. Thousands. They have skin in the game and they're responsible for the repairs. How in the world would I ever want to change that for a tenant? Don't forget, when they move out, they get to go do it again and collect the money all over again, which is normally the case. So I was out of the tenant business a long time ago. My first 2 years in business, I had over 200 tenants, and I had no clue what I was doing. And they were all low-end crap houses in crappy neighborhoods. I had about 200 Section 8 tenants. I used to have dark hair back then, and I'm never going back to that. By the way, that's where all the problems are with tenants in low-end houses, because they don't have skin in the game. Okay, remember, when I put a tenant buyer in a house, I get a great big check. I don't worry about it. If they pay, fine. If they don't pay, fine. I'm okay either way. So right. It's not how I lose, it's which way I win first.
But they're more like, obviously they put skin in the game, so they're more likely to stay the game.
You would think, wouldn't you? Then how come 90% of them don't buy?
Yeah, well,
I force them to. Yeah.
I mean, my thought was that 90% of them, go in with the intention of buying, but life gets in the way, circumstances, etc. And I would assume that the tenants, that the person, they would rather live in a house that they feel they're the owner of, because it adds more stability to their life, versus a house that they're renting and they don't know what's going to happen.
That is correct. It's American dream, home ownership.
Right.
And nobody is going to give me $20,000 if they don't intend to buy.
Right.
Nobody. But on the other hand, I intend to get skinny too.
Now, does it
someday?
Let me ask you a question. I mean, does it? Would you say we talked about the houses in the lower price points? Do you find that an optimal price point is more of a medium price point then when you're doing the pretty house business, not at the lower end?
Depends on what side of it. Okay, if I'm in the ugly house business, I want to be below medium. That's where the money is.
Right.
If I'm in the pretty house business, I want to be above medium. I don't want to deal in all that junk.
Okay.
So if I'm rehabbing, down your low. If I'm not rehabbing, I'm telling you, the higher price house we deal in, the more money we're going to get up front, the more cash flow, the more equity, and the more depreciation. It is no harder to buy a $600,000 house than it is to buy a $200,000 house. It's the exact same process.
Right.
And since I am not guaranteeing debt, and all I've got to pay is closing costs and maybe a little extra money, which I'm going to get back shortly, I found out that the more dollars you wallet in, the more stick to you. So we make a lot more money with a lot less deals. And look at the product that we're keeping. I mean, would you rather own a $600,000 house or a $200,000 house? Right. I'll take all the 600s I can get. So, and for the most part of our country, the pretty house business should be between 200,000 and 1.5 million.
Okay.
And of course, there's areas where a $200,000 house can buy a crack house, you know. But so we adapt. Higher price the area is, the more money you're going to make. You're forced to.
So let's say with the pretty house business, when I'm dealing with the ugly house business, I'm dealing with, say, a landlord that has tenants and they're tearing up the place, and maybe there's code violations, etc. So we're solving those issues in a pretty house scenario. What would you say are the typical problems that we're solving for a seller in the pretty house business? Are they different than the ugly
seller?
house? Yeah.
Okay. So well, listen. When I say terms, there's several types of terms. All right, let's say I take over a debt.
Right.
All right, I can take over that debt and the seller gets nothing because they asked for nothing. They'll sell for what they owe. All right, that's one way. Or maybe I agree to pay the seller more than they owe. Okay, great. I'll create a wraparound mortgage for that full amount. So, but I'm still only going to pay their payment on their underlying debt. Right, and probably straight to the bank. So that they either got some money coming or they don't. Sometimes the house is free and clear. That just means the seller's willing to take a monthly payment, and there will be some term when I got to pay them off, and I try to get as long as I can because I want the goose to live as long as they can. So why do people take terms? Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever contacted a seller where they didn't want all cash, and most of them want full price or close to it.
Right.
And now we just show them why maybe there's another alternative. So of course the easiest deals are the ones with the debt already on them. And because the seller just wants out, they want the debt relief. They don't care about whatever equity is left in them, on beautiful houses and beautiful neighborhoods. But I bought a lot of free and clear houses as well, where the seller's willing to take a monthly payment. So what we do is we generate leads, which you're the expert at.
Right.
In fact, you know, using your Facebook campaigns to generate leads, we're going to get them on pretty houses and ugly houses. So we need to learn both sides of the business so we can adapt. So when a pretty house lead comes in, I have a script, very simple script. We call the seller and we ask them questions and we let them make us an offer. We don't make offers, they make us offers by answering our questions. Okay, the ones who pass the test and we feel like there's a reason to do business with them, then we make an appointment. We can have a script for that. Okay, then we just go out and get whatever negotiated left and done and get a contract. So depending on when the seller wants, I mean, literally, I can go out and get a contract and close it within 3 or 4 days. And now we're ready to go get our tenant buyer and put in the house. We don't have no rehab. We don't have any costly entanglements. We don't have any delays. No banks to deal with. None of that junk. And remember, everything is closed with an attorney. I want to do it right. And if I'm putting a tenant buyer in the house, even that lease option is closed with an attorney. And the tenant buyer pays the attorney's fee. So I want it done right. I want it done professionally. I want it done with the proper documents. And I want it done so that we don't violate any state or federal laws, so you can sleep at night, and we don't make promises we can't keep. We tell it like it is and deal with the people who want to deal with us. It's the minority, not the majority, but we have systems where all that junk is screened out. They don't even take inbound calls, Chris, unless we've made it outbound and asked them to call us back. We have outsourced all of that junk. It's never been more systemized than it is today. I still buy 2 or 3 houses a month in a comatose state. I promise you, I'll spend 5 hours a month with this.
So the question I had is that, so would you say that the majority of the time when you're dealing with these sellers that you're doing this type of business, would you say the majority of the sellers are ones that maybe do owe too much, that have a little bit of equity? No. The majority of them are people that have to have their cash right now if they have any coming. If they have to have their cash right now, I can't help them. Right.
I mean, unless it's a little bit of cash and I'm taking over their debt.
So somebody who's willing to not need a whole bunch of cash right now.
Yeah, but remember, a lot of houses, about 75% of the houses we buy already come with a debt.
Right.
And they don't have any coming. If they do, it's a small amount. And sometimes we create a note that where we owe them a bunch of money on top, but in those cases, they do not have to have the money now, or they would not sell to us on terms. And again, terms usually means I'm paying their payment for them. Very rarely do I pay any more payment than they're already paying if the house is not free and clear.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. And then in terms of when it comes to selling it to the buyer, you made a comment that sometimes you might sell the property for more than market. Is that because always? So
when I can offer terms, it's always worth more on terms than cash.
So let me ask you this. So the question that will come up is that, okay, so why would a buyer pay more money for a house than it's worth? Let's say they go on Zillow and the house is worth, $250, and then you're asking $270.
What's the answer to that? Is a 5-letter word. What is it? Terms.
Okay.
They can't qualify at the bank. We have them all ourselves. They stick to us like glue till we find them a house. So we put them in the house and they fix whatever's broke. It's credit, it's debt ratio, can't prove income, or whatever it is. They can fix it. Again, they don't think they can fix it, they're not going to move into the house. And frankly, I don't care what their credit is like, because I don't care if they buy or not. Now look, I'm not trying to, if they want to buy, I'll do everything I can to help them. But the truth is, most people just won't do what it takes to clean up their credit and go get a loan. Live in a house a couple, 3 years and they decide to move. That's human nature.
Right.
And we're always moving around. Maybe they get tired of the house. I don't know. Maybe they get a divorce. Maybe they lose their job, get transferred, whatever. But most of the time they don't buy. And sometimes they do. But either way, I win.
So in other words, it's almost like, would you say it's accurate to say you have a person that has, they might have $15,000, $20,000 cash that they want to buy a house. They went to the bank potentially, and the bank said, we can't give you a loan, but they still want to have the home ownership, right? And so then now you're saying, hey, you can still own the house, and they're willing to be flexible on the price because you're willing to allow them ownership.
They don't care about the price. Trust me, we don't argue about the price.
Okay.
They care about how much do I have to have down and how much do I need to pay per month. We're going to get in the house.
Interesting.
They're not picky. They're not picky like qualified buyers that the realtors and the builders deal with.
I guess my thought was, okay, why would the buyer want to pay more money than the market? But I can understand that
they don't have a choice.
Yeah, they don't have a choice. They don't have a choice. Okay, and then now, just going back to what you said, just for the purpose of those listening, because you said a term that I don't know if people would understand, and we don't need to explain it in the weeds, but maybe just a big picture of what a wraparound is, because you mentioned that a couple times.
Oh, you had to go there, didn't you? All right.
Okay, you know what? That term.
I think I can handle it. All right. I got to do it with numbers, though. Okay. Let's say, I'll tell you what. I got one on the market right now that's got $182,000 debt on it.
Right.
All right. I could have taken it subject to, but I didn't. To protect the seller, I usually buy them with a wraparound mortgage. Now get this. I'm buying it for what's owed on it. So I'm buying it for the 182. So my attorney created a wraparound mortgage for the 182.
Mm-hmm.
My mortgage to the seller wraps around their mortgage to the bank.
Got it.
Total debt is only 182. But my payments to the seller are exact same principal and interest as the seller's payment to the bank. If that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Okay?
Yeah.
My attorney creates it, attorney records it, no big deal. I'm still making payments directly to the bank. Now, why did I do that? 2 reasons. Number one, if I buy a house subject to, that seller is not going to go be able to get another loan because that loan stays in their name and they can't prove income coming in to wash out that debt.
Okay.
Subject to, because I don't owe them anything. I just took over their debt and they went on. All right. On wraparound, however, there's a recorded document showing they're receiving the same amount as they're paying. So their debt gets washed out. They can qualify. They'll probably take a year for another bank to finance them, but they can get a loan.
I got it.
Secondly, if I buy it subject to, there's nothing that the seller can do if I don't pay. I do not owe them anything. Yeah, I agreed orally to pay their bank. I'm not even personally liable for that. So there's nothing to do. But if I buy it on a wrap, and I know I'm going to pay, but if I didn't pay, they could foreclose me out. In other words, they're in a better position.
You know, it's funny. That's one of the things. I'm glad you mentioned that, because one of the things that I've always thought about. Well, gee, if you take a property subject to and then you disappear, now the seller's stuck because they have a mortgage, but they don't have the right to the property. So
dangerous for the seller.
So this not only this makes the transaction better. That's a benefit to them, because now if something, if you were to walk away, they're still protected, and then they also have an offset against that mortgage in the event that they wanted to get another mortgage, right?
And not only that, if they were to ever take this to a lawyer is definitely not going to approve a subject to deal because of what I just said. But most of them will approve a wraparound mortgage.
So but
deed of trust.
Okay, so it brings up an interesting thing. There's a two-part question, two-part comment. I always say that this is, you can go on YouTube University and learn a lot of things, right? You can learn wholesaling, but I always tell people, this is not something you should learn with YouTube University, because because if you make a mistake, then you've got a whole heap of trouble on your hands. Would you say that's accurate?
You will make mistakes. You will make mistakes.
Okay.
All right. By the way, you don't learn it off the reality shows on TV either, because there is no reality in those shows.
That's a good way.
They're all fake news, trust me.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to offer your listeners 3 videos where they'll better understand the terms business, and they can go to ronlegrand.com/pretty. Okay, not me pretty, houses pretty. Okay, ronlegrand.com/pretty. Now, Legrand is spelled Legrand. Spell it right, please. And get those videos. And also, you can get my book on there, How to Be a Quick Start Real Estate Millionaire in Any Economy. In fact, you can even get it, download it, or you can actually get it orally so you can listen to it. I sat there and took a whole weekend reading my book, Cris. You ever done that? Put my whole book on audio. Oh, man. It was
yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it's done. So get my book and get this free training, and you'll learn what I'm all about. And honestly, I'm not hard to find. I must have 1,000 YouTube videos up there. I can't even keep track of them anymore.
And I just want to, so I want to iterate to people that we're talking about the house business, about the pretty house business, and the whole intent of this. Because here's the thing. It's a great strategy, but it certainly isn't something like people ask me all the time, Chico, can you teach me that? And I said, I'm not qualified to teach, because if you do one thing wrong, you follow the wrong document, you don't dot the I correctly, you could end up being in a lot of trouble. And I would say, I never like agencies with 3 letters ever visiting me.
No. Yeah. Me either. I'll tell you one thing, it's a whole lot easier than rehabs.
Yeah, but it's an interest. Okay, so tell me about that, because a lot of people migrate from wholesaling and they want to do rehabbing. Oddly enough, they stop rehabbing and then come back to wholesaling because they hate it.
It's amazing. That's because they don't know the pretty house business.
Right.
I want to do it all. Like you say, many of the leads that you're going to have generated for them are going to be ugly.
Right.
Okay, fine. Let's handle it if we understand ugly. Wholesale or rehab it, or it's that, or put a tenant buyer in it after you rehab it, which honestly I do not do. I don't rehab houses and then put tenant buyers in them, because I know I'll be rehabbing later.
Oh, I see. I see.
I buy houses already pretty and put tenant buyers in them.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. A couple of things that, and I know we got to wrap up soon, but walking one distinction I want to ask you is I want you to tell me if this is accurate. Based on what you just told me about the wraparound, I'm assuming that you prefer not to do subject to. You're always doing wraparounds, right?
I don't mind doing the subject to if I know the seller cannot be harmed. I mean, like, look, if their credit is absolutely trashed, or if I happen to be buying them out of foreclosure, or maybe they inherited the house.
Right.
If the parent's name is on the loan, I'm not going to do the children any harm by taking the subject to.
Right.
But most of the houses I buy are not in distress like that. I'm not in the foreclosure business. Yeah. Most of them are current. They have good credit. They're great people. They just want to get rid of the house for whatever reason. Right. So in that case, I'm assuming they're going to go get another loan sooner or later. I'm just going to do a wrap. I don't even give them a subject to choice. We don't even discuss all of that. I just tell them this is how I'm going to buy it. Okay.
And so then the other question I had was, because the big aha that I get from this interview that we're having here is the fact that of building a rental portfolio. If you think about the concept, because people are always people are always pitching the concept of, hey, you got to build up a rental portfolio. But many times I've spoken with investors that have a rental portfolio, and I'm pretty amazed at how little money they make and how miserable they are with that.
And it's a shame they're this close.
Yeah.
And you won't cross that bridge to get the proper training. It took me 20 years to figure out, to be honest with you. Because I'm telling you, I don't do repairs.
Right.
20% of their bottom line right there, not to mention all the calls you got to take. Nobody calls me to get their toilets cleaned out. You send them to a plumber if they do. But think of all that money up front they're losing. My goodness. And think of the difference between their tenants and my tenant buyers. Tell me, when my tenant buyers move, the house is clean. They call and apologize because they can't buy it.
Right.
Totally different world.
And you're still the owner, which means that if they stop paying the monthly rent, you would evict them, right?
I can't remember last time I had to evict anybody.
Okay.
If they quit paying, we'll work it out. I don't want to evict them. We'll work it out. In fact, if I have to, I'll give them a little bit of money to get on with their life and work it out peacefully. I hate taking legal action against people, and I can't remember when I did it last day. True.
That makes sense.
There's a human side to this business too.
Well, I mean, and I know we got to go, but I mean, it's interesting because I came into you and I chatting about the fact that, hey, somebody could take money, take these leads that they already have and be able to make money from them in a way that they haven't been making money. But the other angle really that I'm walking away with is that, hey, if you are thinking about building a rental portfolio, and if you're thinking, hey, I'm going to wholesale and then buy all these rentals and have tenants and everything else, that this is an alternative, really, and a better alternative to that you're going to get all the benefits of doing owning a rental, but without any of the bad stuff associated with it, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And constant paydays.
Yeah.
Constant paydays. Chris, I got 2 houses right now that's got tenant buyers in them. They've been there about 12 years. Their option expired 11 years ago. Mm-hmm. I've not done a dime worth of work on either one of those houses. I haven't had any calls from them. They just keep paying the rent. I'm going to pay the house off already. God bless them. I got 2 houses right now that I've had 6 tenant buyers in it. So it's a cash machine. I call it my mutual funds.
Oh, that's interesting.
Mutual funds have houses in them.
Okay. Well, I mean, listen, you've opened up my eyes today to a different way of looking at this than I hadn't expected when I first came here with you today. So I appreciate that. And I know you've got to go. You got a plane to catch. But Ron, again, just for everybody, look, this is not an affiliate thing. I'm not, Ron's not paying me any sort of money. I brought him on and I said, hey, I would love my subscribers to learn about the strategy because people always asking me about it. So I asked him to do that. And so that's his link. It's ronlegrand.com/pretty. I'll put the link also in the description of the YouTube video as well, so that you guys can click on it. Ron's been an educator forever in this industry. He's taught so many of us to get started.
Speaking of that, I have a podcast too.
Oh, yeah.
I just interviewed you. Okay. It's called The Mentor Podcast. Go get on it. It's free.
Okay.
I just interviewed you. I was amazed at what you do. And I was glad to put that out to my folks because what a great way to get leads, what you do.
So it's the mentor.
What you do, what I do, is an unbeatable combination.
Yeah, I think so because we do generate quite a bit of properties just like that. I was just reviewing a lead that was just that exact scenario. So the podcast link again is The Mentor Podcast. The Mentor Podcast. Not hard to find. And I'll put that in the description, guys. And again, listen, I can tell you that again. I just want to reiterate: this is a tremendous strategy. I think that everybody should look at this strategy. However, this is not a strategy for you to go out and try to learn it on YouTube University or try to learn it on your own. You're going to make mistakes. You don't want that to happen. I would encourage you to at least take a look at the videos. At least it'll get your mindset working.
And full disclosure, okay, I have trainings as far as you want to go. I have a 4-day training I still teach. You'll get information on it when you go see the videos. Go look at the videos and see if you like what you see in it.
Yeah.
Take it from wherever you want to go from there.
And Ron's a great guy to listen to. He's very entertaining, and he throws a few jokes here or there that are funny every once in a while, Ron. So, but guys, I appreciate Ron taking the time to really chat with me about this today, and all no joke, you've opened up my eyes to a little bit. It's a different perspective. I wasn't thinking of what you just said in the way that we talked about with building a rental portfolio. So I'm happy to see, look at that. I learned something today, a shift. Guys, I want you to encourage you to go ahead and hit the notification bell. Make a comment if you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any questions. And as always, as I always say, if you come here, you watch the videos, and you don't subscribe, it's like going to the buffet, eating all the food and walking out and not paying. Eventually, someone's going to go after you. And in this case, it's going to be me and Ron are going to go look for you, and we're going to give you a little ass whooping for doing that. But I appreciate everybody. Appreciate you, Ron. So thank you very much.
My pleasure, sir. See you next time.